Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of Hidden in the Universal Vault. I'm Ryan, your host, and I thought let's jump right back into the 1960s as we take another look at another film which stars comedy legend Don Knotts when he was still with Universal. So I thought we'd go ahead and take a look at his second to last film for the studio, released in 1969, 1970. I don't know what year this is released. So we'll say 1969 with The Love God. I'm once again watching this off of the 4-movie Laugh Pack. This is essentially just a Don Knotts set. So, yeah, Love God. This also has Anne Francis, Emmett O'Brien, and James Gregory. And this movie is boring. This movie, yeah, it's so obscure. I remember this movie, though. I had a previous Don Knotts set I remember my parents buying back when it came out in 2004. But my mom would not let me watch The Love God because she saw it as PG-13. She saw sex-related materials, and yes, there is sex-related material. No, like, nudity or anything, but just, material. This is before PG-13 rating ever existed. It's just PG-13 when they reissued it for DVD or home video, whatever it is. So yeah, Love God. Let's actually talk about this movie. So the movie stars Don Knotts. He plays, hopefully this stays. So he plays Albert Peacock. He's a guy who is in trouble with the law. So they decide he works for he's not in trouble with the law, but he has a magazine company called Peacock Magazine. So he basically wants to, they decide, let's make pornographic images. And Albert is like, I never did pornographic images. And essentially, that's what he does. So he basically does that. So he meets up with his uncle. I do believe James Gregory plays his uncle, I think. Emmett O'Brien plays a supporting role, so yeah. He plays the guy who helps Albert. He wants to help Albert out a little bit. So basically, he now becomes, well, the love god. Essentially, he's just the ladies' man in the movie. So that's really what the plot is about. And the biggest problem with this movie, and the biggest crime that this movie has, is it's not funny. Nothing made me laugh. I have laughed before when I reviewed The Ghost and Mr. Chicken and Shaggy's Gun and West. I loved them. I had fun. Shaggy's Gun and West is probably the best movie that Don Knotts made for the studio. And it's so good. Ghost of Mr. Chicken was a movie I saw as a little kid. I had on recorded VHS my parents had, so I watched that so much, and I fell in love with that movie so much. I had it alongside The Great Outdoors. I don't have that tape anymore, so I can't really show you it, but you know what I mean. So it's really such a shame, though, because it's just not a funny moment. Not funny moment. It's just not a funny movie. Anne Francis plays sort of like the woman who works for his magazine company. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. Something in this movie didn't click with me. I feel like this is probably Don Knotts' worst movie, but although it's funny near the end, but it ends on a very sour note. I feel like I had a sour taste in my mouth. I don't know. Don't get me wrong. I like these types of movies. Let's use this example. National Lampoon's Animal House, which came out decades later, used a lot of that sort of sex-related material. This movie for a movie in the 60s, I'll give it this. It's very ambitious for Don Knotts to do something like this. And the movie is actually produced by, I think all of Don Knotts' movies were produced by, Edward J. Montroe. That's the guy who he produced all the films. This one, instead of Alan Refkin in the directing chair, we have Nate Heskin. I believe it's Heskin. I'm probably gonna butcher that wrong. Hyken? We'll say Hyken. I think it's not Nate. Nat Hyken. Nat Hyken directed this, and you can probably see why. I gotta look at this again. Yeah, he wrote this. Yeah, come on. This just, I don't know. I feel like I said again, like someone like Alan Rifkin, he has directed, he directed 2 of the movies, and Don Knotts' producer, Edward J. Montreux, directed The Reluctant Astronaut. I am going to get to that one soon. So, yeah, I just, Love God is just very bad. There's also another scene in the film, and this comes near the end of the movie, where Edmund O'Brien literally just conks Albert Peacock's head into like the wall so many times. I laughed so hard at that. He's like, let me tell you something, buddy. If you say I do, it'll be the last thing you ever say. So he's really mad. But there's also another scene in the movie where they're like whispering. They're whispering like that. It really just bothers me so much. I really want to know what Don Knotts' idea to make. I guess he wanted to do sort of an adult movie instead of making movies for the entire family, like Shakey's Gone in the West, Ghost of Mr. Chicken, Incredible Mr. Limpet, or even decades later with Gus for Walt Disney. So I don't know why I give the actor credit for doing that, but like I said again, it's just not that good. The girl, I did like the girl where her father, who's a priest, is like telling her not to marry him. But then she goes and says, "No, Father, I'm going to marry him." And he's like, "What in the name of God are you talking about?" So, yeah, I think I rambled too much. This movie is just super boring. There's also a bunch of these women that he goes into his pad and he sees a bunch of these women. There's also a weird transition where they showed like people jumping and cheering, and all of a sudden like he's walking with the women. We see more in the background. There's also another scene where I believe it's this scene right here, where he's at the party and these women are, I believe, they go to the Peacock Club, which is sort of like the Playboy Mansion in this movie. And there's one song in the movie I didn't like, but then you have these women that are dancing in peacock outfits. It's just really weird. I did not understand why this movie was even made. So I personally cannot recommend The Love God. I'm just going to get that right out of the way. So let's get to so let's, I'm kind of dozing off a little bit. I'm kind of like sidetracking myself. So yeah, let's just cut to the chase. I'm going to give Love God an automatic 1 out of 5. I really wanted to like this movie because I feel that Don Knotts is one of the funniest, he still is one of the funniest comedians, one of the funniest comic actors, but for some reason, he just never made me laugh in this. I still got one more. Actually, there is another movie. Like I said, Love God's the second to last. His final movie studio was How to Frame a Fig. I don't own that movie. I'll get to it if I do find it. I definitely want to check the movie out. But I got one more on the set I need to watch. We'll say that one later. We'll say Reluctant Astronaut for later. But yeah, that's all I really have to say about The Love God. Like I said, guys, I just can't recommend this. So, you're not really missing out. So, yeah. So, anyways. So, that's my review of The Love God. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you do like the content on the channel, you can like, comment, subscribe, click the bell. I'm on Letterboxd, guys, so you guys can swing on over to Letterboxd. You can check out all of the ratings I give to every movie. What I do pretty much is I pre-rate the movie, then I go ahead and do the review, so I remember what I gave that movie. So yeah, that's it, guys. And as always, keep watching those Universal movies, and I'll catch you guys next time.